Okay, nothing came. Okay, good. All right. If I fall over, Brian, don't get worried. It's just vertigo. And I'll take Uber home. Oh my goodness.
I'm keeping an eye on that.
Okay, thank you. All right. So, so take a moment to think about, the reason you show up to these teachings. And rejoice that you do show up. You make an intention, you get in your car, you come. It's wonderful that we choose things that help us on our spiritual path, because we have more choices than we can even imagine to do something else. So it's really something to pat ourselves on the back for doing something that's not always as entertaining, but helps us really think about how to make our life more meaningful, how to prepare ourselves for future lives, and how to just, live more according to our values from day to day. So set your positive intention and combine it with a wish that it not just benefit you, but that it ripples out to benefit all sentient beings. So we'll read the four immeasurables. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. And then page 35, the seven limb prayer. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind.
Every type of suffering, action or inaction. I declare all negative actions accumulate since beginnings of time. And I do enjoy the merit of all holy and ordinary beings. These remain until the end of life existence. And turn the wheel of Dharma with living peace. I dedicate my own merits and those of all others to great enlightenment.
So the first line of the seven limb prayer is counters, it opposes the mind of pride. The second line opposes the mind of miserliness. The third line purifies our negative actions, so it helps us take responsibility for our actions. The fourth line counters jealousy. The fifth and sixth lines are putting out a request to the teacher to remain long and keep teaching. And then our dedication helps seal it so that it can't be destroyed by anger, and also makes it so it's inexhausted until all beings become enlightened. So that's what the great enlightenment means. Everybody's enlightened. So those are all this is a great, cover all bases prayer. So then we go to page 98, or you can look on the screen if you can read the screen. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit the sentient beings. Okay. So we've been discussing karma. And so the kinds of things we've been, I have to record. We are recording. Yay, we're good tonight. What was I going to say? Okay, so we've talked about how karma has 4 qualities to it, or 4 elements, or 4 something or others, you know, it's a list of 4. So karma is what?
Yeah.
Definite. What does that mean?
It's cannot be unchangeable.
No. Anybody else guess?
That's what it means to be definite, you mean?
Karma is definite. What
Yeah.
does that mean?
Right.
According to the teachings I've given.
Specific action, specific
Right.
results.
So cause and results are congruent. It's, you know, so negative actions lead to negative results, positive actions lead to positive results. That's what it means by saying karma is definite. Karma increases. What does that mean? Mhm. From one action, many results can arise. All right. I want you to remember these because this is the short way to think about karma, where you don't have to remember all these other big details. It's just that, you know, when you're looking at yourself going, oh, why did this happen? Well, because I created the cause for it. So what is that getting at? There's a third element. I created the cause for it. That has no meaning to you.
Create harmony.
Wait, yes.
Nobody else creates it.
Well, and nobody else experiences it. Everything we experience is because we created the cause for it. Karma does not go to waste. What does that mean?
Has to be used up at some point.
It ripens, or you have to.
It stays on your mental continuum
from lifetime.
until it either ripens and exhausts, you purify it, or you destroy it with anger, depending on what type of karma it is. It doesn't go to waste. In other words, it lasts forever.
Destroy it with anger.
You can destroy your good karma with anger.
Yeah.
And what I think about for that one is just how you can have this wonderful friendship with somebody and you've had it for 27 years, you know, you have one really ugly fight and it's over. That's it. Finished. Power of anger is very strong. We see it in our own experience. You know,
Well, what if you end up making up with that person?
did I say that? Was
No.
that the example?
You have a fight with somebody.
And it can end the relationship forever.
It can, but.
Yeah, Marianne, just listen.
Trying to figure that out.
No, you're trying to get something out of your purse.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So you can destroy good karma with strong anger.
Yeah.
In the same way you can destroy a relationship
Mhm.
with just one fight.
Yeah.
Does that mean every time we get angry, we've destroyed our good karma? No. Does it mean that every time we get angry that our relationship ends? No. It just means, just like it's possible to destroy a long-term good relationship with someone over one incident of anger, so too you can destroy your virtue with anger. The effects. Make sense? I mean, it may not make sense, but I mean, you know, so it's not about what if, what if, what if. It's just simple.
It was that moment in time, right?
It just
Like
means
you
that
have
it's
the anger.
possible.
But yeah, it does not go to waste. So give me an example.
All karma, once you place the seed on your mind stream, it never disappears until it ripens and exhausts, or you purify it or destroy it with anger.
So the seed on the mind stream, you know, karma's definite. So the seed on the mind stream, is, it's just, it's gonna develop, not necessarily this lifetime, but one of lifetimes afterwards.
That actually isn't what it says. It says it's on your mental continuum until it either ripens, gets purified, or destroyed. So if those two don't occur, if it doesn't ripen and you know, and exhaust, or doesn't get purified or destroyed, but then what is it? Where is it?
Still there.
It's still there
In mind stream
until
until.
the only thing that cleans up all these seeds is when we're liberated from samsara, which is the 8th level of the path of meditation, when you've not just realized emptiness directly, but you've cleaned up all the afflictions completely.
So when, at that point, any unripened seeds are gone.
They're just gone.
Right.
Because there's no longer a foundation to support them. It is our ignorant mind that supports them, because that's their root. That's how they can't arise without it. That's why Arya beings don't have any, you know, Arhats, I should say, liberated beings. They're not accumulating any more karma. That's because they don't have any negative karma left. It's just, karma describes cause and effect within samsara. When you're out of samsara, you don't have it. Because you no longer have any negative actions of body, speech, and mind, because you're liberated. That's what liberation is. Liberation is a mental thing, a mental state where you no longer have any foundation, anything that's ever going to cause your mind to be negative.
How does one get to that?
You have to, this is the 2 wings of the bird. You have to develop methods, skillful means, which is all our accumulation of merit with compassion and generosity and patience and, you know, all the good qualities. And then we have to develop our wisdom, which is the realization of emptiness. Because that's the big key, because that's what purifies it all in one swoop. You know, so right now we're taking a sponge, and every time we make a spill, we clean up that one spot when we purify. And we have seeds since beginningless time. So, you know, we'll never get out that way, but we have to start there, because we have to change our habits of mind. And that's one of the ways in which we change our habits of mind, so that we won't do those actions of body, speech, and mind, blah, blah, blah.
So practicing is meditation?
Practicing is everything. You know, it's like,
Mindfulness.
it's pausing before you speak. It's observing that a negative mind's arisen. I got to be careful. Caution, caution, you know. It's thinking about the teachings and understanding, how is it possible that anger is so negative? You know, why do I want to let it go? You know, why do I want to let stealing go? Why do I want to let lying go? You know, so it's not just, it's observing our mind and then making better choices with our actions, regardless of what mind arises. So, you know, a negative mind arises, we just don't do anything. And then later we reflect on why it was a good choice not to do anything. you know, and thinking about, that every moment of suffering we experience, we created the cause for through our negative actions. And that negative actions are dependent arising, just like our good actions are dependent arising, just like everything is a dependent arising. So it's not, we have to really develop wisdom about what to adopt and what to abandon. It's like, when people ask questions in class, oh, but what about blah, 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 blah. And, and the best answer is it depends, because there's a lot of conditions that are also there. And, you have to be thinking about those conditions, that there's we have different actions depending on, just like we do already, we act differently at work than we act at home, than we act, here, so and we just want to get very good that one of the influences on how we act is no longer whether they're our boss or not, or our good friend or not, whether we're in class or not, is that whether or not it's something we should adopt or abandon. So it's just meditation is what helps us internalize the teachings. It's like you read about them, you contemplate them, and then when something resonates with you, you single-pointedly rest there. I mean, that's the process. And we think about emptiness, even though we kind of go, what is it? You read books on emptiness and some of the exercises for it, you go, what's this about? But you do it anyway. Because over time and over reading other stuff, you might finally understand what it's getting at. But
Yeah, I'm hoping to get there.
yeah, of course. I mean, you can
know
get
exactly
there.
what you're saying.
So, and this is the thing. And so one of the main things that we can be doing, is obviously all the good things that we can do, be generous, be kind, be patient, da, 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 da. But we can also be thinking, oh, they don't exist inherently. There is no Tendron nature that is permanent, blah, blah, blah. Oh, there's no inherent tree. There's no inherent this or that. We can just, when you're bored, when you're waiting at the doctor's office, you can look at everything in the room and kind of go, oh, none of this exists inherently. These are all dependent arisings. We all created the cause of these things to manifest. Yeah.
I find that an easy exercise when I'm doing walking meditation. That's one of the things I try to get to where I know I'm seeing it, but I'm trying to get to where I know what the emptiness behind what I'm seeing. And it's a good time to do it because
You don't really want to meditate.
there's nothing else there's nothing going on. I'm walking.
You're walking
I'm
meditation.
talking about walking meditation.
Yeah, and
When I
walking,
meditate regular,
heads up.
Yeah.
Walking meditation, by definition, your focus is walking. What does that mean?
steps.
Well, but on that, just, okay, what I'm doing is walking. So you can think about how my body is not inherent existent. When you stop to look at something, then you can go, and that tree is not inherently existent, and it's in everything. And even though it appears like this solid, permanent, huge tree, that is a false appearance that I am imputing on top of it. When all the story that we make about, oh, it's a beautiful tree. I wonder if it's going to fall down the next hurricane.
By giving it a name.
No, the name is not an imputation. A name is just a label. But we go far beyond that. Where, like, so you say you see a beautiful tree on your walking meditation, and the next day it's not there. And you kind of go, whoa, where did it go?
What this is.
No, but it shows you that it's not inherently there. The conditions for it to be there have changed. You know, that a sponge truck came around and chopped it down. Because the reason why we want to think this way isn't because intellectually we don't understand that. It's because even though intellectually we understand that, we grasp at permanence. If it's here today, I'll be there tomorrow. And we do it constantly without any awareness of it at all. It's so fast, it's just a habit. You know, so we just want to
Is it cultural
yeah, so those are the
attachment that I see the tree, so it has to be there?
what?
The attachment.
No, it could be aversion.
of person, yes.
It's just there. So, you know, and then we create stories. How fast does it take you to create a story?
Instantaneously.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's off and running. You know, a lot of times this is neutral. But as soon as we like the next thought, you know, we go, oh, that's a tree. Then what do? God, y'all are tough.
Well, expect it to be there.
Well, that's one of the things we grasp at permanence of the tree.
They can hate it.
Then you might go, oh, that's a good looking tree. I wonder how long it's been there. You know, we could create some story about it. You know, we just, you know, make it up as we go. You know, especially if we see it every day. Oh, it's looking healthy today.
But what is the point of it not to do it?
Because we believe our stories. We think that they are true. They're not that we just made something up about it that we know nothing about. Now, it could be true to say, I find that tree beautiful to look at. Because you're the only one who can determine if you find that tree beautiful to look at.
So I'm a tree hugger and I go every day almost to a tree and I sit
Okay,
leaning against the tree.
okay. Have you asked it permission?
Oh, yes,
Good.
I talk to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your question?
My question is like, is it not real?
No, it exists, but it doesn't exist the way it appears to us to exist. Like thinking that if that tree wasn't there, you couldn't have a good walk, or you couldn't have a good meditation, or you couldn't have this or that.
If it wasn't there anymore, I would definitely.
Yeah, that's a problem. And that's a story you've made up. That it's there, so it should always be there. Because you like it and you want it to be there. And if it's not there, something bad must have happened. You know, we create these things. Well, trees die.
Cashew tree passed away.
There we go. And you have to, generally, you have to cut them down or they fall on someone and hurt them. You know? So it becomes an enemy. You know, it's like after every hurricane, you know, people go out and cut every pine tree they see down because pine trees are the enemy, you know, because they don't last in hurricanes very well or tornadoes very well. But all of a sudden you see these neighborhoods that suddenly have no trees at all because somebody's gone out and knocked over all the trees. So because they have become the enemy.
So maybe the tree doesn't exist in the way that I want it to, or that I'm used to seeing it, but it still exists in another form.
It just exists, but it only exists as a momentary, moment-to-moment thing.
So we should look at everything that way.
Yep.
And like
Okay.
I said, not to create attachment or aversion.
Yeah, that's another subject. Yep. But it's because we have attachment aversion, we create all these things. So it first starts with our ignorance, but then we have a pleasant or negative feeling about it. And then we just, cling or push away. So, but that's Sunday's topic. So, okay. So karma. The importance of understanding karma is it allows us to consider the possibility that we're responsible for our experience in life and that we can improve it by the choices we make and how we think, speak, and act. Gives us all the power. If it's true, it gives us all this power. We talked about how karma can be heavier or lighter depending on like the object, like if you're really bad mouthing your teacher, not such a good plan, or bad mouthing your parents, or that you can murder your parents. Well, that's not a good idea. So depending on, what object you're talking about, and with your action, that the mental intention and motivation that's within the mind as you're doing that action is very important in determining whether or not it's how heavy it is, whether it's virtuous or not virtuous. We talked about the fact that seeds that are complete, that they have all the 4 parts of a complete action, that you had the intention, you had the performance of the action is culminates, it's completed, like you kill someone and or you step on an ant and it dies, the ant dies, so and you do it with a mind of aversion or attachment or whatever. And there's, the basis of your action. This is one of those things that I find hilarious, is just because it gives you something really to think about with killing. If you set out to kill Mary Jo and you kill Mary Ann by mistake, you don't get the killing karma of killing Mary Jo, because your killing of Mary Ann is accidental.
Oh, it's still killing.
Yes, killing. I mean, yeah, you don't get off the hook entirely, but it's not a complete action because you didn't have the object. But yeah. I was like, oh, that's Mary Jo. Boom. Wrong. Oops. Because this is why your intention is very important.
Right.
You did not have the intention of killing Mary Ann. So you don't receive the karma of killing Mary Ann. Now, if you say, I'm going to kill the next, you go out with one of those guns and you add a bump stock and you kill 56 people, and you didn't care who they were, you get every single one of those killing karmas. So that's a few 56 eons in the hell realms, etc. Oh yeah, all killings a ticket to the hell realms. So, so when it's got complete action, what is special about complete karmic actions?
Yeah. They determine your next life.
Well, not necessarily. Yeah. But yeah. So they become a projecting cause, or a fruitional cause, or a ripening cause. There are lots of translations of this term. But if it's a strong, completed action, it has all the points of the thing, it is the kind of seed that ripens at the time of death that determines the kind of rebirth you'll have. Okay. All those incomplete karmas, you know, make up all sorts of other aspects of our life, you know, and they don't all ripen at the same time, which is why it seems random to us what we experience. So when we talk about getting stuck in samsara, you know, how do we get stuck and what happens at the time of death? And, you know, what's this deal? We're talking a very specific sequence of mental events called the 12 links of dependent origination, which causes us death, birth, death, birth, death, birth in samsara, in cyclic existence. Okay. So there are 12 links. Didn't I just say that? 12 links. I got that number right. Okay. So the first link is ignorance. This is because it is the root. And it is the ignorance about how we exist. And how all phenomena exist. It's our innate grasping at a self. That ignorance leads us to an action. And this is the second link. It's called all kinds of things. It's called karma. It's called formation. It's called compositional formation. It's called just action. It's called, but basically, it's an action that's arising out of our ignorance. Okay. The third link is that action's finished, okay? And as soon as it's finished, a karmic potential is placed on your mind stream. It's actually placed on the mere eye, which is.
What did you say, karmic what? Is placed on, the karmic what is placed on the lens?
Karmic seed,
Oh, yeah, okay.
or tendency, or propensity, or seed. The trouble is, you know, analogies don't hold up eventually, you know, language doesn't quite do it because it's not a physical thing. It's not like literally a seed gets created and placed on your mental continuum. So this is just that next moment of consciousness, all right? That's where that seed lands. It also is a moment of consciousness when it ripens for your next life. You know, so it's placed in your consciousness right after you've done the action, completed the action, and then but it's still on that consciousness. So it's going to meet conditions in the future. You know, if it meets the right conditions, it will ripen. So it comes up again. So these 12 links, the way it's just described, the 12 links, I don't know if y'all looked at the Wheel of Life kind of thing, or if you did, Scott, wasn't it Scott that did a teaching on the Wheel of Life on Zoom at some point?
So by the door.
Oh yeah, well, that's definitely true. But I thought somebody did a teaching on Zoom about it. So these are not in the order that as it actually happens, okay? But this is the sequence of them over time, okay? So the consciousness, when it finally ripens and it enters the fertilized, you know, it enters the fertilized egg of a human, if it's going to be a human rebirth. That's the second part of the third link. This is when the embryo starts to form, okay? And so the fourth link is called name and form. It means
Why name and form? That sounds
because
like two things.
it is two things, just like body and mind. So it's because the mental consciousness and the form are it's all that's there. You don't have all the sense consciousness yet because the sense organs are not developed.
But why name?
Because name is that's a good way to put that. Can we wait?
Yeah.
Let me see if I've got an easy one. It's just getting at the mental awareness. They call it name. They don't. Buddhism doesn't have any real fancy, meaningful names. It's literally just, like the definition of form. Does anybody know the definition of form? You'll love this. It's that which is suitable to be form.
Yeah, I do love it.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
Can't argue with that.
No, you can't argue with that.
Pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah. Okay. It's represented by the picture of a man in a rowing boat on the wheel of that tanka that we have. The boat is the means by which you will be carried to your destination. That's the body, the form, and has enough space for the things that you will need to take with you. The boat represents our body, and the rest are our contaminated aggregates. The contaminated are our mind. Everything else is mind. So it's the body and the mind. All those other aggregates, we talk about 5 aggregates. One of them's form. The others are all mental. Okay. And they're just a few that were picked out because they cause us the most problem. One of them is feeling. As soon as feeling arises, we have, attachment or aversion arises. So there we go. These are the things that carry us through our life, but they also provide a basis with the capacity to carry all of our experiences of happiness and suffering, meaning all those karmic seeds that we've already placed on our mentals. So it goes from life to life to life to life to life to life. And they call it names. Sorry about that. It's not very interesting. Okay. I'm going to go through the details of all these someday. Don't watch the screen while I flip through it all because you'll get nauseous. So you have this basic little blob, right? In the embryo. And then the 6 senses start to form, our 6 organs, meaning, and with that are also the sense powers, which enable our sense organs to function, because we have consciousness with our senses that is not the organ, so you have so those start forming. And so they're not right away. So we don't have those until, some development occurs. Okay. And then, finally, all these things are formed, it's, that's when we have contact. Contact is a mental, it's a mental factor. That means an object, a moment of mind, and a previous moment of mind come together. So the previous moment of mind is our condition for having contact with an object that causes that moment of mind to arise, you know. The fact that we have mind is what allows us to have a mind that holds an object. Sometimes being generic, just it's really difficult. So for eye awareness, you know, you have to have eye awareness in order to have contact with eye awareness and actually see something. See form, eyes see form, shape and color. Okay. But, you know, basically what we're talking is, so now the other aggregates are coming into play, you know, feeling arises. We have contact is what gives birth to feeling. Feeling is just pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. So then what happens? We have craving. Feeling gives rise to craving. Now, craving can be either, I don't want to be separated from it, or I better be separated from it. You know, we crave both. Separation from things we don't like, closeness to things we do like. And then grasping. It's just a tighter form of craving, where we feel, you know, that it's a mind that has to have it. So at the time of death, we're dying now. So we're on the deathbed. And our craving for this body and this story is present. We don't want to lose it. We're afraid that we'll cease to exist. And so we're grasping after it. And that's the foundation for rebirth. It's also the condition for our mind for a seed to ripen. So this process happens to go into the intermediate state. You know, so when it talks about, you know, birth, it's birth as a Bardo being, an intermediate state being. And then you go through death again, you know, every week for 7 weeks until you find a body. And then, but that same seed that, you know, started to ripen, you know, in that moment of mind, as you're losing this life, you know, is what's propelling you in the Bardo to find, you know, your next parents or whatever. So, and then immediately the next moment is aging and death. So, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So where is nirvana?
Nirvana is when you're out of this.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we all want. We want to get out.
Yeah.
Well, this is why we want to get out. Because this is all there is for us in samsara. So aging and death, we have all that life, you know, and then, you know, we have contact and feeling. So, and craving and grasping, you know, so we want the habits of our mind to be positive, so that at the time of death, just like any other day, the odds are really good that the mind will be positive. Positive does not mean you're rejoicing that you're dying, you know. Positive just means that you're not clinging. You're okay. You have a mind that's okay. Okay, so okay, when this is over, you know, please, man, you know, I want to be reborn in a body that can benefit other sentient beings. You know, so we want to practice that habit. That's the importance of waking up and thinking about a motivation for the day and thinking about benefiting others. You know, this is why we want that habit, you know. This is why we want the habit of relying on the teachings, of going for refuge to the Buddha and Dharma, so that we have that kind of mind at the time of death. Please guide me to a good rebirth. Please, may I be born near my teachers. Please, all that kind of good stuff, but that it's such a strong habit. And it's a strong habit because your daily prayers are there. So I know you can have this habit because it's a completely, I was not a religious person growing up. Daily prayers were like, what? I had no clue what any of that is. I don't remember a thing about Sunday school except the donuts. None of that. But I'd been coming to the Kadampa Center in Raleigh maybe a couple of years, maybe, I got hit by a car when I finally came out of unconsciousness. The refuge prayer was going on in my mind. Wow, we want that habit, So it's really good when you're fearful or whatever, go for refuge. Because then when the big fear hits us, it'll be a habit. This is the importance of creating habits that are positive and that are Dharma directed. Instead of, may I be born near a beautiful beach and have the resources for a beautiful home, never want for food, air condition, or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you might get that if you've done all the other things you need to be able to get that. But, and we know lots of people in the world, not the majority. We know a small percentage of people are having that ripen, but they have no direction in their life to make it meaningful. Now, some of them do. I don't mean all of them don't. It's just, but we want all of that, but we want Dharma resources. So we want to meet the teachings, all that stuff. Okay. Make sense?
Yeah.
So this is why worrying about this last moment isn't something to get worried about, because worry is not the mind you want. You want to trust in your positive tendencies, because you have those. And so you want that to be, what, it's not like, it's not that you're not going to be sad about leaving, it's just more of just having this other part that knows that you're not going to cease to exist, or at least that's what the teachings say. So you're going to just trust in the teachings. That's refuge,
I sometimes say, oh my, like, oh God, take me home, something like that.
Mhm.
But now you say,
That's
yeah,
probably not the best thing to be thinking about.
no, it is good to say,
It may feel good.
because what I imagine home to be is this place of no existence, let's say.
Well, we exist, so you don't never going to get that.
But on the other side, after I'm dead. But now you say this is.
You're going to be, until you are liberated, you'll be back. Yeah. Wishing will not make it so. Not according to these teachings. I used to think, well, I'm really good at regretting. And the mind of regret is a positive state of mind, And my teacher goes, oh, it's so easy to fall from regret, genuine regret for the harm you've done, to genuine regret for not having done a good job of taking care of yourself. And oh no, I don't want to let go. I mean, you said we could get really, so it's not the best mind, it's a tricky one. So, but ones that are dependable are that wish to just benefit others. May may I be able to benefit others. May I have all the things I need to be able to benefit others. and going for refuge. They say if you go for refuge at the time of death, you cannot be reborn in a lower realm.
And the word refuge. When I hear that, I feel like I'm going to be protected.
Well, it means safe haven kind of thing.
Safe haven.
Yeah, but you're not protected, and you're protected by your own positive mind. How y'all doing at home? You awake?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. So innate self-grasping, that's the ignorance that's at the root of this cycle, the 12 links. Okay. And it's what I'll just read this because these are great teachings. Innate self-grasping is what gives rise to the mistaken part that exists in every appearance. Milarepas had said that without understanding that your enemy has already entered into your heart, you keep pointing your finger to external enemies. As long as you do not realize that the enemy is within your own mind, as long as you do not realize that he has entered and melted into your heart, there'll be no end to your external enemies. It's our mind we need to change, not the world. When identifying what motivates any action, divide the motivation into two parts. The causal motivation, which is the innate self-grasping, that underlies all of our stuff. And then we have the motivation at the time of the actual action, which is usually an affliction if we're talking about negative actions. So anger, jealousy, pride, greed, attachment, all those things.
For me, it calls for real awakening, for real awareness, for really being mindful all the time.
Yep,
You cannot be asleep and
that's correct. You can rest, but you want this always being aware, always being mindful of how you're thinking and how you're speaking and how you're acting and how you're behaving, all that stuff. You want that to be so habitual that it just, you don't have to expend any more effort at it. You're on it, just like you could drive your car without thinking. You just, and that just takes familiarity, lots of familiarity, but you can get there. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And then, when we think about emptiness and on our walks and go, oh, that doesn't exist inherently, all that stuff, that constant familiarity, so that it interrupts that habit of grasping at permanence, that helps, that will help us meet the teachings we need to meet, reflect on emptiness, and then finally have a direct perception of emptiness and have wisdom, and then, get out for the benefit of all sentient beings so that we can truly help others. And it's just a long process. So basically, they talk about the path. I mean, this is just for knowledge sake, but so when you enter a path, if you enter the path on like the Hinayana vehicle, the Theravadan vehicle or something, the way you enter the path is renunciation, where you've become completely disenchanted with samsara. There's nothing in it for you. So, when you have an uncontrived mind of that, so 24/7, you're just not interested in what samsara has to offer. You enter a path of accumulation. Bodhicitta, the entrance for the Mahayana vehicle, includes renunciation in it. It assumes you can't have uncontrived bodhicitta without renunciation.
Well, those are 2 or 3 paths, renunciation, bodhicitta.
We're talking about different paths now. Those are the three principal paths,
Okay.
as opposed to the three higher trainings. Now we're talking about the 5 paths with Buddhahood. Okay. So the first path, the path of accumulation, is that wing of the bird of, method of accumulating merits, developing your good qualities, all that stuff, because we need lots of merit to be able to remove the obstacles to realizing emptiness. Okay. So while, so in that first path, we're also developing calm abiding and special insight focused on emptiness. The measure of having moved from the first path to the second path, which is the path of preparation, is when we have the union of calm abiding and special insight. So this is so you're developing stronger states of mind, and your object is emptiness. So you still haven't had a perceptual realization, but now you're going to be able to develop the strongest inferential cognition of emptiness, and it's going to be correct. You won't have experienced emptiness, but now you have an infallible concept of what it is. And then when you finally perfect that, it has the power to send you to the path of seeing. Not send you, it's not a place, it's a month. So that's the path of seeing, is when you're an Arya being. And now you're starting to work on all the layers of ignorance, all these afflictions. So you're dismantling the root of samsara. That takes a while on the path of meditation. And then when you hit like the 8th ground of a bodhisattva, or the 8th ground, I mean, it's not called grounds like that for Theravada, but you are liberated from samsara. You're in nirvana, and that's not reversible. You can never go back to having a contaminated mind, or at least a contaminated, afflicted mind that lands you in samsara. So this is the good news about all this. It is really possible to get out, and then the last 3 grounds, you're this is to become completely enlightened. You're cleaning up the most subtle imprints that are left from these eons of ignorance, so that you remove all the obstacles to omniscience. So the path of seeing, you have that experiential perception of reality as it is. But as soon as you arise out of meditation, you don't have it. But the way things appear to you are false. And this takes a lot of time and good teachings. You're going to need to know what you're doing in these meditations and accumulating merit and all this stuff. So it's kind of cool. So the consequence school, or the school we're in, this tradition, the Prasangika school, says that anyone who is an Arya being and then becomes an Arhat, who's liberated, must have the same view of emptiness that this school says, because it says if you don't, you won't be liberated. So even though they talk a different view, those who succeed in actually having a realization of reality as it is, have this realization of that no phenomena inherently exist. But even when you're, obviously, all arhats get on the path to Buddhahood because they perfected wisdom. They're not stupid. So they'll go, oh, there's a little more work to be done.
May I ask what an arhat is?
It's someone who's liberated from cyclic existence. But it doesn't mean that they're completely enlightened. It just means they're out of this trap. And once you're an Arya, you no longer are doing anything that keeps you stuck in samsara. Your mind is free of that kind of mistake. So you will reach liberation. And in fact, before you have a direct realization of emptiness, I think it's on the third level, the path of preparation, you know you'll get there. So you'll have, these, so they're markers along the way that you will know, and that will give you the energy to do the work, because you'll have that proof that we're all desperately want, I'm not going to do the work until I have proof. You'll have it. Unfortunately, you won't have it at the beginning. You have it later. Another reason why we want to kind of have this continuous habit of kind of reminding ourselves, oh, things don't inherently exist, and they don't exist the way they appear to me to exist, which means you're accepting the fact that they in fact do appear to us as inherently existent. That even though intellectually, when we talk about it, we can easily see how they're dependent arisings, but our mind, when just going along, we just superimpose inherent existence on everything in our lives, and so we want to counter that as much as possible. So the less we reinforce that habit, the less intense our self-grasping becomes. For most of us, it's still pretty intense now. Okay, that's a lot. Questions? Anybody have questions at home? Yeah, Nana?
Yes, Venerable. I'm thinking, how's that aging and death go right after the birth? Is it like, I understand that it's like it's included in the package, but I don't know, like something, I don't understand the sequence. I don't understand the sequence.
Yeah, it's just that recognition that once we're born, we're gonna die. And we start the process towards our death in that very next moment. One of the reasons for that is all that seed has a lifespan with it. So our projecting karma has a lifespan. So you're born with a lifespan of 82 years. You can have an untimely death, which means you can die earlier, but you can't die later. So that process of reaching the end of that lifespan of that seed, or however you want to look at it, before it exhausts, is in play. And we can't stop it.
And when you get there, it seems like they happen right at the same
Oh,
time.
no kidding. The older you are, the more it's like, I blinked and I got old. So,
They are also inseparable, birth and death.
yes,
You can't have one
that's
without
right.
the other. And that's why they put them together.
Yeah, well, they're mutually dependent.
Yes.
It's a dependent arising, and
Mhm.
you can't have birth without death. This is in samsara. This is where we're, where we have relative truths. Isn't it fun? Does that make sense, Nana? I mean, you may not buy it, but that's the idea behind it, that really Now, you know, whatever we're doing our whole of our lives, whether it's a long, long, long life or not, you know, the only way it's going to end is usually, and they usually kind of throw in sickness, illness, aging, sickness, and death, or something like that. So, I mean,
It
that's
does
what's
make
so
sense,
funny.
yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
no worries. Any other questions?
So if we are in Bardo and we're waiting to find another person to be born as, do we know?
Yep.
Do we know that
Yep.
when you're born?
It's not like that. We'll get to that, you know, the rebirth process, but basically, in just like in a very simple way, you can say that when that seed ripens, so if your seed ripens that you're going to have a human rebirth, okay, so when you enter the Bardo, you'll be like a little human child, you know, and it's a body of light. You can travel anywhere soon, you know. I mean, it's just this, you're just desperately searching for parents, you know, and karma's at play. So you're attracted to, you know, things that you're attracted, you know, it just keeps on going, you know, so you're drawn to places of attraction. And you literally, the way they describe it is you see your parents in bed having sex and you're drawn to it. And you enter the egg, the fertilized egg. Yeah. Yeah. And then you go, oh no, actually they say, you think you're going towards the person you're attracted to, and you're not, you're going to the inner, you know, you're going inside to be going to this fertilized egg, and you go, you're angry, and that's what kicks you in there. Yeah, that's right. So it's like, you know, so if you don't find, so every 7 days, this is why the 49 days are considered important for prayers, and etc. Blah, blah, blah. You know, you have a little, what's called a mini death, you know, after 7 days. And then you know, and then you have a new Bardo body, and it keeps going. And in that mini death, it's possible you may change the karmic seed that ripens. And that's where you're like, the power of prayers of your teachers and all that kind of stuff can be useful.
Is it, you can at the time of death, if you're advanced, become enlightened then?
If you go at so as you're dying, there's what's called a death dissolution process. So first is your elements, your physical elements, you know, are ceasing. You go through this stage, and then you reach a point where you can't speak, you can't hear, you can't smell, you can't taste, you don't feel anything, but your consciousness is still there. But you're getting to, you know, so then your conceptual consciousnesses are not supported until you get to more subtle levels of mind. And then finally you get to the most subtle level of mind. When that breaks free, because that's what goes to the next life, you have an experience of clear light, which is very similar to the experience of emptiness. And if you remember your emptiness stuff, you know, if you are able to meditate on that, when the clear light manifests, you can realize emptiness in that moment. You have to be a very advanced being. They say Lama Tsongkhapa did that so that he didn't have to break his monk's vows because he was a monk, you know, so they say he became enlightened in the Bardo or in that period of death, you know, so he didn't have to practice Tantra as a monk.
That's it. Is it known how long that process takes?
The dissolution, the whole process going from, they say that, you know, like, I was just reading, I think it was in Samsara Nirvana, the book with His Holiness and Tubten Chodron, that 20 minutes from the time all your sense organs cease to function. You know, they would call you brain dead at the hospital, that it takes 20 minutes, but it can take much, much longer than that. So realized beings can be there for weeks in this process.
So is it the bardo is 40 days?
The bardo is 49 days. If you're meditating in the clear light, you haven't died yet. Your consciousness is still in the body. So that can be much longer. So it's the 49 days starts when you enter the bardo. If you become enlightened in that moment, you don't go there. The bardo is part of samsara.
So I have friends that were pregnant 9 months, and just before birth, the baby decided not to want to be born.
No, they say that because you're the seed that ripens, has a lifespan with it, but you can have an untimely death. So say your lifespan's 82 years, and the day before it's supposed to go, you get hit by a truck. So you have a day left. So you die. Just, well, yeah. You just have leftover life, but it's not long enough to be born. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, it's,
Be
yeah.
careful about telling them that.
Really?
It might hurt their feelings.
Yeah. It may
But-
breed in from here.
It's not their fault. That's
Yeah,
absolutely
that's
true.
what I want to say.
They created the cause to suffer the experience of having a stillbirth, but they didn't create the cause for that baby to die. The baby died because of its own karma. But you have to be careful, because then, people get on these whole long stories about, oh, does that mean that children who suffer from child abuse, they created the cause for that? Yes, it does mean that. Doesn't mean they should be blamed for that. That's not what it's about. It's about, it's about understanding that we want to clean up our minds so we never create that cause again, And we've been around since beginningless time, and not everybody wants to hear that at all. I mean, you have to be, this is, it's karma ripening again. It's like some students come in, their very first teachings on karma. It's like, I'm so glad mine wasn't, yes. But they, it's what ripened for them, and that was a good thing. For other students, that's what ripens for them, and they leave the first teaching, never return. I've had that happen in my classes. It's depressing, but it's, it's the way it is. It's not for everybody. So, so what might comfort you may not comfort someone else.
I would ask that.
You just have to be careful, and you have to be very skillful at how you explain it. But it's not fate. In some traditions, karma is interpreted as fate. It's predestined. You don't have, and it's not like that in Buddhism, in the sense that it's not predestined what you create the cause for. It's that, because we can choose, but most of our stuff is our habit energy creating our seeds, so we're out of control due to our karma and afflictions. And that just means it's because our habits are in control.
It isn't our control to clean it up. So
Yeah.
that's why it's not.
But you have to take control.
That's why it's not predestined. We
Right.
can clean it up.
It is a choice. Once you know it's a choice. And once you act on it.
And what about those who don't know,
Yeah.
never know?
They just, this life, they just keep acting on their karma, But we all know people who are not religious at all, but they try to control their actions of body, speech, and mind because it's just the right thing to do. Yeah, so it doesn't, it's no different. You don't have to believe in Buddha to have good karma. That's not, that's not what it's about. So the jargon doesn't matter. It's the meaning. I think it's just, as far as, because we're not able to see all the causes and conditions that come together for any event that ripens, we just, because we don't have the ability to know, because our ignorance obscures all of that information. It's just important to kind of keep in mind that we're responsible for the suffering and happiness that we experience, that we've done something in the past that is ripening. And that if we take responsibility for that, we can start to get ahead of our habit energy and make better and better choices about how we want to, what kind of seeds we want to place on our mind stream to ripen in the future. And then at the time of death, we want to have this habit of having a positive mind, not getting all caught up in what's happening to me, but just, caught up, oh, well, okay, well, and this is why, like the Pure Land practice, traditions of the Pure Land, they're praying to be born in Amitabha Pure Land, because aspirational prayers are the bridge. It's so Abhidhamma, yeah, I can say that. Yeah, that one. Pure Land is one that ordinary beings can end up in. So basically is, which is Sukhavati. So you'll see that in some of the prayers, like the King of Prayers, I think is like that. And there's some prayers Lama Kappa has that are great. And they're all about being born in a pure land. And, so, like you pray first for a pure land, and then it's sort of like, and if not that, then I want a good human rebirth where I meet my teacher. Stuff. So it's, it's
So I saw something today and I made some notes, and it's about being. Being is our nature, free of conditioning.
well, I don't know. I mean, if
So when we are born, we are not conditioned.
oh no, we're totally conditioned. Yeah, so that's not a Buddhist concept. Yeah. We don't have a clean slate. We're born with habits
Continue, brings the karma with it.
and bad karma. We're born with
Whatever,
habits.
it brings it. Not like,
It's that boat, we're carrying all those seeds. Yeah. So we don't have a clean
So
slate.
the innocence of a child
Is a myth.
is a myth.
Innocence of a child is a myth. It does not mean a child has all the faculty of an adult human being to make choices. They don't. So we have to respect that and not treat children any differently. They're children. They're not, they're just like you. They have no awareness of being around since beginningless time. And so this idea they should know better, is wrong. That's also not true. So, but innocence, we're all innocent in the sense that none of us are chasing suffering. We all think, we just want happiness, and that's where we're going. We are so ignorant that we're ending up chasing suffering, but we're not doing it on purpose. We're not a bunch of masochists that, we just are ignorant. We don't know what we're doing. It's our ignorance that causes us to create these negative. It's ignorance of cause and effect. It's ignorance of how things exist. And so we've done hideous actions of body, speech, and mind. And, so it's just, but the fact that we've got a human rebirth with good conditions this is the best opportunity to start changing some of that stuff, purifying seeds and placing good ones. So anyway, sound good? I know it sounds a lot, it's like a lot, but the truth is we think all the time. We're planning all the time. And we're thinking, oh, I'd like this, I would like that. All we're trying to do is take that same energy and redirect it towards meaningful actions. Instead of thinking about what am I going to have for lunch, you think of it in a different way. Oh, I've got to take care of this body because this body is how I benefit others, and I need to take care of my finances because, blah, blah, blah. And I have to take care of my health because I want to live a long time to learn the most who can, da, 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 da. So it's about reorienting why we do things, not what we do, but why we do them. And that hopefully will change some of the things that we do that are not skillful and that end up causing suffering, you know. And it sounds like this impossible job, but it's not true. We've all changed habits. And when we changed them, we had to be very aware. As everybody who's ever given up anything knows, you can't afford to forget, you know, because your habit energy will just pick up that cupcake, you know? So, which were very good, by the way. But she made me cupcakes. I had cupcakes in a murder mystery, and as a present, it was like, hey, samsara, here I come. All right. So, all right. So let's rejoice. Because we can. So think how wonderful it is that you decided to do this with your time instead of watching. I watched some commercial about a show called Traders, I think, on some channel or something. And it's and I thought, get over it. Don't even think about it. Okay, so we're going to page 235. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may we quickly attain the state of Guru Buddhas and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow. And may that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samantabhadra too realize things as they are, I too dedicate all these merits in the best way that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with the dedication praised as the best by the victorious ones thus gone at the 3 times, so I might perform good works. I dedicate whatever virtues I have ever collected for the benefit of the teachings of all sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of perfect, pure Lozan Drapa to shine forever. And then page 244. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you're the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chenrezi, Kenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. And then page, 234?
Yes.
Okay. Peerless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Lozan father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now, holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice. You wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and for mother living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the 3 jewels and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples. Yay! thank y'all. Thank you for
Thank you.
showing up, participating, thinking about it, whatever. So, so have a positive mind when you go to sleep tonight.
You
never know.
Hey, it just occurred to me that y'all have had the ceiling of the Gompa the whole time because I oops. Sorry about that. But hey, you got the rest of your pretty faces. So there you go. Take care.
Thank you, Tendron. It was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Sorry for being late and thank you all.
Thanks, Nana. Good night. Jack, can you go
Okay.
turn off the recording?
Until Sunday.
Yes, until Sunday.